Welcome to the channel. I'm James Salvatore, and next to me is the 2021 Porsche Cayenne Coupe Turbo. And this is a pretty special one because for the most part, this is an all options tick car. No expense was spared in the build on this one, so it'd be a pretty interesting video. Let's get right into things. Added to the model lineup last year, the Cayenne Coupe Turbo sits right below the top of the model range. Starting at about $134,000 US, it features a glorious sounding 4-liter twin turbo V8 that produces 541 horsepower and 567 foot-pounds of torque, mated to an 8-speed Tiptronic transmission with all-wheel drive. This makes for a 0 to 60 a time of just 3.7 seconds with a top speed of 177 miles an hour. The EPA rates this car at about 15 miles per gallon in the city and 19 on the highway. And when it comes to braking and handling, it features Porsche's adaptive air suspension with rear axle steering that constantly adapts to road conditions for flat cornering and braking. Carbon ceramic brakes are optional, and this car does have it. But standard, you get 10-piston aluminum calipers with 415mm rotors in the front and 4-piston calipers in the rear with 365mm rotors. All right, let's talk about the design for a minute. So up front, the Cayenne Coupe is different, but it doesn't really look that much different from the normal Cayenne if you were to put them side by side, in my opinion. But one of the things that's pretty neat is this is the adaptive headlights, but they're in black, which you don't see on every car because it's a pretty expensive option. But definitely adds to the look, and it's a nice touch in my opinion. And just taking the lines of the rear, honestly, I think this is one of the best looking coupe SUVs. I mean, go with me on this. Like, say if you were to look at the Mercedes iteration and the BMW iteration of this segment, I don't think that they flow. They just look awkward. And that's coming from me. I'm a huge Mercedes fan, as you all know. So yeah, they don't do it for me. And this has arguably one of the best new sounding production V8s on the market today. Maybe except for a Jaguar F-Type, because those would be a pretty close comparison. But you know, I'm gonna let you take a listen. And when you get into the inside of this car, you truly feel like it's a special place to be. It's very high-end. Everything is leather wrapped. You have a nice Alcantara headliner. You definitely feel like they didn't spare any expenses when building the car. Everything feels properly built. And if you look over to the right, you'll see the nice 12.3-inch infotainment screen, which, as you can see, there's not really much to complain about here. And everything's laid out pretty easily. And one nice thing here is you can control all the settings of the car, suspension height, exhaust. You could put up your spoiler. And then you have a few off-roading tabs as well. I'd be very surprised if one of you actually decides to take this off-road, but just know that it actually would be pretty capable because you do have a center locking and locking rear differential, which is similar to a G-Wagon if you wanted to compare the two, seeing that they're close in price. Again, you probably won't use that. You'll probably just use Apple CarPlay, which makes things easier. Just know that it is wireless in this car. With the standard Bose system, you get a 14-speaker system with 710 watts being pushed out of it, which I've listened to and it is good. However, this upgraded Burmester system is absolutely crazy. Now, don't get me wrong, if you just listen to the Bose system and you don't want to spend the extra money, don't sit in a car with the Burmester system because it really does blow it out of the water, but the Bose system really is good if you've never heard this. This is just truly next level. You have multiple surround modes, 1,455 watts of power through 21 speakers, and a separately amplified 400-watt subwoofer. And for the gauge cluster, I like the mix of traditional with modern. You can see you have the standard analog tachometer, which I think is a nice touch. And if you look down here, you have your drive mode selector. You have Sport, Sport Plus, which if you notice, the RPMs actually just raised because it pre-spools the turbos to be more responsive. And you also, if you're gonna do launch control mode or you just want a little bit more boost from the turbos, you hit that, goes into sport response mode, and you get just a slight amount more power and response. And then if you wanted to, you go into the I mode for individual, and you can custom tailor some drivetrain settings if you wanted to. And when you take a look at the center console, depending on whether or not you like haptic touch buttons, you might either like this or you might hate it. I could promise you, if you're not a fan of haptic touch buttons, these are pretty accurate and they aren't annoying. A lot of the other cars I've tested out that have these haptic feedback buttons are annoying, but these are very sensitive and straight to the point, and I like that they left buttons where you had stuff that you had to hit repeatedly. And in the center console, if you take a look, you have a wireless charging pad and 2 USB-C ports, which is nice. And getting into the rear really isn't that bad. I'm 6'1", my settings are the same from when I was just sitting up there, and I have plenty of knee room, and surprisingly, headroom isn't that bad. You'd think with this coupe line shape that, you know, headroom might be a little cramped, but that's not so. I'd say if you were 6'2", 6'3", you'd still be comfortable back here, no problem. And another cool thing is you do have quad zone climate control in this car, completely adjustable, which definitely a nice touch, especially for the price point of the vehicle. And moving around to the rear, just pop the trunk and you'll have about 21 cubic feet of cargo storage with the seats up, and about 54 with them down. One nice thing to note though is that if you're loading the car, you could lower the suspension simply by pushing a button to make it easier to reach to put stuff in. All right, well, I hope you all enjoyed the video and that it helped in making your decision. If you haven't done so yet, be sure to help me out by hitting the like button. Really helps with the search algorithm. And be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you don't miss out on future uploads. Normally I do new car reviews, new car comparisons, classic cars, exotics. So be sure to subscribe and turn on that bell because you're not going to want to miss out. But before we go, if you're interested in this car or you're in the market for a Porsche in general, be sure to check out my friends down at Porsche of Fairfield, Connecticut. They're the ones who made this review possible today, and they're a super helpful, friendly group of people to work with. And if you're in the market for a Cayenne Turbo, especially a coupe, just know they're super low production and this one is not going to last for very long. I'm going to leave their details in the description below. And with that said, thank you for watching and I'll see you next video.